put the link down below to the code. Okay, let's start. A little off. So that basically sets up our page. We're ready to get started. I'll put a link down below to where the code is. First, let's make our CSS folder. Where did I make? We'll call this one main. Start out with a body tag. Set up our font. There we go, so now we're ready to hack. Okay, so first thing we do is we'll set up our HTML. We want to do an unordered list, and we have a list of anchor tags within it. And that's what we're going to use for our navigation. So very simply, I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to paste it right into our file. The important thing to note is the class we're making navigation. We're giving it an ID of nav. And then we're also adding an extra button called top, and it's going to have the class floater, and it's going to href to this nav. And we're going to have this button float in the bottom of our screen as a way to quickly get to the top of the screen, because that's a nice feature. So let's save, and then let's reload our page. Okay, let's get into styling. Flex is great, and so the navigation class is going to define our unordered list, and we're going to give that to the display of flex, and using justify content, it'll organize it very nicely. So let's do that real quick. Just go to your main CSS and put it in there. If you notice, we have these extra 5 options right here, and these are prefixes that allow Flex to work on older, more obscure browsers. But if you're using Chrome, all you really need is these 3. So let's save, and let's see what it's done. Ooh, it moved everything aside, but see how we're kind of bunched up? Let's fix that with some more styling. To keep things simple, instead of giving a class to every anchor tab, over here, we instead just reference anchor tags within our navigation class. We do that by calling navigation with A. And we're just going to take away the decoration of the text, that's the underline. We're going to add in a little bit of padding so they're not all bunched up, and we're going to set it to display block, which also adds some more distance in between each button. So save and refresh. See, at this point, you got yourself a nav bar, and it works pretty good. But let's make this more responsive. Again, we called the anchor tags within the navigation class. We're calling them when we hover over. We're just changing the background color. We're going to round out the edges, and we're going to make the text on the button visible against the darker background by turning it white. So let's save, and let's give this a try. Go ahead and use whatever colors and shapes you want. Oh, how nice. So this is pretty fancy right now, so let's go ahead and add some media queries to make this adaptable for smaller screens. Oh, actually before we do that, let's create our floater definition of our floater class. We just give it a fixed position. We give it a right of 40 pixels, which makes it 40 pixels from the right side of the screen. Similar to bottom, which makes it 40 pixels from the bottom of the screen. Let's give it a background color. This is just a translucent black. Let's round it out because it looks better. Let's give it a color also for the text. So let's save and see how that looks. Fancy. And it still reacts to our hover option. And so when you click this button, it brings us back to the top here, because remember we gave this as an ID of nav, and when you hit this, it goes to nav. So this is the first media query that we're doing. And basically it affects everything. If the screen is 800 pixels or less, so the widest it can be at the max will be 800 pixels. And when the screen is 800 pixels or less, anything under the navigation class, justified content will change to space around. Right now it is flex in, that's why everything goes to the right. When it goes to space around, everything will be evenly spaced. So we can say, we can reload and try this out. See how that worked? More than 800 pixels, 800 pixels. That's pretty fancy. All CSS. To further make this responsive, let's add in another media query. That will happen when the screen is even smaller, let's say around 600. So similar to the other media query, this affects everything when the screen has a max width of 600 pixels. So if it's less than 600 pixels, which is generally a phone, the navigation will change again to column wrap with a 0 padding. And we will also adjust our buttons to have a new text alignment and a border, because what this is going to do is stack the buttons on top of each other for a small screen. So let's save it and give it a try. See, as we go smaller, that's 800, 600. So there you have it. Very simple. I also have a live example up if you want to view the source and copy it that way. And I'll leave a link down below for this code right here. Thank you very much for taking your time. If you have any questions, be sure to ask me and I'll be as quick as possible to answer. Thank you guys. Have a good night.